Took a turn.
All right, but we are going to continue. We're going to be talking about the vaccines, and we are going to be talking about Operation Warp Speed. But of course, we are trying to provide you with a service right now, going state by state of the no evidence. So it's time to continue Fraud Week. You know what? Spit takes aren't worth it.
Yeah, you just got it everywhere.
They are not
I
worth
don't
it.
think it hit the camera, but it might have.
We're continuing Fraud Week.
He didn't. He did not.
This week, Nevada and Pennsylvania. We're cataloging this on CrowderBits so that you can have this as a reference point. And I want to get through the facts first so that I don't get anything wrong. And then, of course, we'll go to some commentary. So let's go to Nevada first. This week, the Clark County Commission, right, they threw out a local election. You can bring this up there, Tokenon, because there were, quote, too many discrepancies to be sure of the election results. And there were 153,000 votes in this municipality. So they had to toss it. That's a local election, and I don't necessarily, there's anyone, we don't think it's going to affect the national election. But that's still kind of like if you have to toss an election, you have to toss 153,000 votes because you can't even get close to matching up the totals. Maybe there are a few memory cards under someone's mattress next to their gold and reverse mortgage contract. I have no idea, but go looking for them. You'll find them. Where's the memory card? Maybe it's wearing stripes in a candy cane forest like Waldo.
Yeah.
Why does Waldo always hide in places with stripes? Waldo, we could find you easily anywhere else. Well, I don't know. I'm at the Candy Cane Amusement Park. Well, there's your problem, Waldo.
Well, maybe he doesn't want to be found.
Maybe he doesn't want to be found.
Bill Devane found 5,000 votes.
So this was 153,000 votes in a local election that were tossed. And by the way, this does translate. These direct votes are a local election, not national, but this does translate to the shenanigans that you see at the national level. Matt Schlapp summarized the problems going into the Nevada elections, highlighting that there were all kinds of irregularities, even at a national level in Clark County. Here he is, because you won't believe me.
In all my years in politics, I have never seen the types of voter irregularity we have seen in Clark County. The zeal to push reckless, unsolicited mail-in voting resulted in 50% of ballots coming through the mail and a tenfold increase in mail ballots in Clark County. Fact. The voter lists were never appropriately scrubbed, including the press reports after FOIA requests of not scrubbing over 80,000 primary voters before the general election ballots were made.
Oh. No evidence.
Fact. Illegal ballots never should have been mailed, and they never should have ended up in the final tally.
Tomato, tomato.
How did this happen? This happened with a reckless change in Nevada election rules right before the general election, which reduced the democratic norms of meaningful observation by the media and by Americans.
Says you.
The reduction of ballot security and almost the elimination of signature verification.
Yeah, I know you feel for their
Audio guy.
Their audio guy.
And he actually ended the speech by saying, "You just got Matt slapped."
You just got slapped. You just got slapped. And by the way, you usually don't see someone that tan with hair that white, that thick. He's like a walking photo negative. So here's some other fast facts for Dominion voting. The systems that we've talked about, they were used in 16 out of 17 jurisdictions in Nevada with, of course, a history of glitches. We don't have them in this election because no one's really looking for them. But in previous elections, a whistleblower, by the way, with the Clark County Elections Department claimed that poll workers fabricated proof of residence, right, for data for illegal voters. This is under a sworn affidavit. Again, we're just doing Nevada right now. We're going to get to Pennsylvania. We're cooking with gas. We're cooking with the slow downfall and erosion of our democracy.
Yeah.
It's renewable, apparently. every 4 years and midterms.
High smoke points.
And recounts. Yeah, it's like palm oil. Somewhere there's a paleo or keto person like, I get that. I need to get my saturated fats in because I believe it's a better energy source, you moron. So... another witness saw a Biden-Harris van unloading ballots that were filled out, and then they were sealed in envelopes. And here's people formed a human shield to prevent poll watchers from observing. So we'll continue with this because there's and beware the fact checkers. We're going to get into some of the fact checks that you see that aren't really, they fact check themselves. But when they say, well, it was a mistake, they formed a human shield to block poll workers. We used to form a human shield so, black people could saunter on up to the bar and eat a piece of pie at the diner, maybe not be bothered by German shepherds while they enjoy a brunch. Now we're forming shields to prevent the preservation of our constitutional republic.
Which is better than making a shield out of your parents' trash cans. You can go be Antifa and burn down the city.
That's true. That is true.
Then in Nevada, the Republican Party, of course, said they found over 3,000 specific instances of ballots that appear to be cast improperly. Up to 10,000 ballots have allegedly been cast by people who don't appear to live in the state at all, or dead people. And these have been referred, by the way, to Attorney General Bill Barr, who is on my list of "It's not gay."
No. Yeah, this is.
How many? You mean that?
I love Bill Barr. That's what I mean. I guess it's just me. Listen, you know what?
Yeah.
I went out on a limb expecting support.
No, you got none.
Yeah, well.
Well, you left us there. We didn't know where you were going with that.
I didn't know if you meant gay bar.
What were you about to say there, Joe?
I was going to say, I mean, none of these stories are far-fetched, right? So it would be very easy for the news to go, yeah, that seems like it has some credibility to it. We should probably cover that. We should probably talk about this. And yet they just lump it into no evidence, no facts, not
These
showing
aren't
the
stories.
video.
These are sworn affidavits.
That's what I
and then
mean.
there's confirmation. So, for
Yeah.
example, we had a sworn affidavit with someone saying, hey, they put in 5 ballots in Michigan 27 times.
Right.
We said, we're going to dismiss that suit. Now we have evidence that there have been at least several ballots counted 3, 4 times. And the truth is, with the recounts that they're doing in Georgia, there's no real way to know how many times that's happened. I don't know if they do it by just adding up the total from Dominion voting, the digital total and the hand count total, and say there's a discrepancy. How do they only spot one?
I know there has to be a true, like you said, a true audit of votes. We have to know what's going on because there's too many of these, like you said, not just stories, sworn affidavits, people coming out in positions of power and saying, hey, this doesn't happen. Like this does not happen. We have to take a second and make sure that this is accurate. And nothing. CNN, nothing.
I think
ever.
we just have to discount anyone who says definitively this cannot a recount. There is no election fraud. You might find 1 or 4 votes. Well, in one county, 6,000. Well,
So far.
you know what? It's give or take.
Well,
It's like the polls. There's a plus or minus 12.
It's like a parent saying to the kid, like, "What's behind your back? Nothing."
Yeah. Nothing. Good enough for me. All right.
Nothing to see here.
Sounds like it's just a comb.
It's not like it's a cajillion votes. Come on, guys. I mean, fine.
Come on. It's not like it's enough to sway an election in the most important country the world has ever seen. What does it take at this point?
Yeah.
Now, we're not saying that this is evidence that there's enough fraud that would have changed the vote total, but there is certainly enough evidence here, not only sworn affidavits, but hard evidence and numbers and vote tallies and ballots that warrant an investigation at this point. And of course, you're saying, well, we're not going to investigate. Well, hold on a second. If no one took it upon themselves to investigate at all, those 5,500 votes would never have been found, never counted.
Yeah.
You say that all votes matter, all votes count, and they're talking about on CNN how Lindsey Graham wants to toss out legal votes. He put pressure to toss out legal votes because someone spoke with a person who knows somebody who saw this guy who knows that Lindsey Graham passed out at 31 flavors last night. But what about the illegal? What about the illegal votes? We want to toss the illegal votes. What about these legal votes to the tune of thousands that have just been found? Do those not matter? Does CNN understand that showing the South Dakota governor hurts their case? It's like when the governor is better looking than your hosts.
This beautiful woman is crazy. Trust me.
Trust me.
Right across the country right now, there are dozens of people with CNN on in airports going, well, hey, why didn't she do her job? Put her there.
She should have a show.
And put you in a gulag.
Yeah. CNN's claim she's too pretty to be smart.
Yeah.
Why don't you have an extra chromosome monster like most cities have for politicians?
Said by a buzz cut lady.
Bring back Lori
Skrillex
Lightfoot.
cut.
Yeah.
Looks like Ashley Tisdale banged Skrillex, and we're supposed to take her as an authoritative news source.
It looks like Lena Dunham before she found cake.
Now let's go on to Pennsylvania here. Pennsylvania is another one. You guys can feel free to chat. I want to hit these facts, but you guys can feel free to chime in with opinions other than polling then vote fraud is bad, Gerald.
I don't think I've ever said that.
Give me something more to go on.
Pretty sure I didn't say that.
Factual.
You know what? Let's start with this in Pennsylvania. So Nevada's done. Pennsylvania and Michigan I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. But in Pennsylvania, a lot of people will say, well, hold on a second. Actually, that's untrue. We had a live stream. Poll workers were allowed. In some places they were, some places. And we'll get to all that, the misunderstandings. Thanks, AP. But watch this video for yourself, and you tell me if it looks like a poll worker is actively being turned away. No evidence.
You're not letting me in? Well, what? No. That's why I tell you, call the police. Do it. If you legal, call the cops.
The city guy is in the bathroom. He'll be there. Call that number. Tell him to call somebody.
I have a citywide watcher certificate.
And it's not for this location.
It's not for it is not. Is this the city of Philadelphia? This is the city of Philadelphia. This is the city of Philadelphia. This is the city.
It is for that location.
You wanted to talk outside. Let's talk. I have a watcher certificate. I asked you to read the line. The line said it's good in every ward and division in the city.
I don't know what's more offensive, that our democracy is being stolen from us, or that the poll watcher was tricked by the old bouncer. Let's go talk about it outside. Close the door. You mean there's not a sex on the beach out here? Oh, skunked again.
I like that they couldn't be bothered to read the certificate that says "good in all wards."
Right,
Citywide.
good in all wards.
What can we do to make sure this doesn't happen? Well, let's just write on it that it's good in all wards. That'll take care of it.
I had the same thing happen with a coupon at TGI Fridays.
Let's talk about this.
That's because of the one-way mirrored van.
That's true.
Yeah, that was a bad idea.
And it's not because we can see the children in the back. It's because you parked in the electric vehicle only.
Oh,
Trying to
rookie.
save the
We
world.
take the global warming seriously. At
Yeah,
TGI
feel free to hurt the kids, just not the environment.
So here's the thing. Poll watchers in Philadelphia, to corroborate not only what's going on there, they were ordered to stand 20 feet away until they got a court order, which they defied. Now, the media fact-checked some of these things, the 20 feet away, as well as that video. This is from USA Today. Here's what's so interesting. Like you said, that certificate is good in all wards, right? It's citywide, which almost seems like the poll workers should know that. Kind of like I should know right now, the red light. That means people can see what I say. Only I'm in charge of the election of the free world. So here's what the USA Today said. It was an honest mistake. And when you read it even confused me. Let me read an exact quote. So you see they're trying to say that it actually seemed like he was in the wrong ward, and then you realize, at the bottom of the paragraph, right before the guy leaves his byline, which is anonymous, I don't know if it was in this case, a spokesperson for the Philadelphia City Commissioner's Office stated the act was, quote, an honest mistake. Kevin Feely said during a phone call with BuzzFeed News that the man had a different ward than was written on his certificate. An older version of the law pertaining to poll watchers maintains such individuals must be assigned to specific wards, which is why the poll worker mistakenly turned the man away. So you say there was a law in the ward, and people are like, I guess, okay, he shouldn't have been there, and he was mistakenly turned away. Well, hold on a second, you said it was on different wards. How was he mistakenly turned away? They never mentioned the new law, and that the guy was officially credited for all wards. So they say there was an old law that was kind of confusing, and so it was a mistake. Well, hold on a second. Is there a new law? Is that something they should have been briefed on? Because we heard audio tapes of them briefing people in Detroit on how to board up polling precincts with Bristol boards. Just grab a new Bristol board. It could be an old project from your kid's kindergarten. It don't matter so long as they can't see shit.
And it's educational.
Also, do you believe this lady knew that law?
Right.
No.
No way. The one in the welding mask?
Yeah, exactly. The plastic welding mask?
Does it matter if it was an honest mistake? It doesn't matter at this point. The poll watcher was not allowed in.
Yeah.
The end result is the same. Whether you weren't briefed on the new law, whether you knew the law, or whether you just had a bad day, it still happened.
You're still in
That's
the
the
wrong.
whole point
It
of this.
was
Is it
an
happened.
honest mistake.
No, it was not.
No, it
What
was not.
bothers me
that
is
was
it's not even
swingy.
just a guy voting. It's the guy who's got to make sure it's done properly.
Right, exactly.
Why would you assume that he's just not allowed inside?
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, honest mistakes don't usually involve that much shoving.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And call the police.
What
Go
an
ahead. Call the
attitude.
I'm
police.
detecting a little bit of unhonesty.
Yeah. It's like a mistake is like, I bumped into you. I'm sorry about that. Doesn't involve.
Yeah, you don't just lock the doors and you're like, had the pandas.
We're seeing it with the body language expert on these segments.
Right,
You're like,
right.
well, if you look at the body language here, you see he's reaching for a knife, but then realizes it's the camera, so he just commits mild assault by shoving him. Yeah.
You can see the honesty here.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
You can clearly see
With
the
the
earnestness
shove.
in the face. I know that it's difficult because of the reflection due to the entirely ineffective mask, but
Did you see the poll
well,
watcher?
she took a sneeze shield. She took half a sneeze shield from Golden Corral.
That's all it is. It's a sneeze guard. That's it.
By the way, what we're talking about, so you have that, then you have mail-in ballots. We talked about how in yesterday, what was the state we did yesterday? Was it Arizona? Was it Wisconsin? It was
No,
Georgia.
Georgia.
Georgia had an acceptance rate of mail-in ballots at 10 times the previous elections. Now, this is important. Here, this kind of trends with the national average. It is about 30 times. They were accepted at a rate of 30 times the mail-in ballots of 2016 in Pennsylvania. So keep in mind, what that means is in 2016, we didn't just have massive unrequested mail-in ballots, right? We had absentee ballots. I had to vote absentee one time because I was on the road doing stand-up, and so that's where you actually have to, at least when I did it, you had to request a ballot, you had to verify and authenticate your address, and then you had to send it in, usually by election.
That's what ours was.
Yeah, and I didn't claim reverse racism, sometimes commonly referred to as racism. I just said, well, yeah, that makes sense. There's a date, them's the breaks if I miss the date, right?
Calendars are racist.
You know,
deadline.
so that's what I had to do back then. So that was the process back then. And ballots that were mailed in were accepted at 30 times less. So that means that now many people who've never voted, according to the voter rolls, they've blown past actual voting percentage in counties from countries where it's mandated in some instances.
Yeah.
And we've seen a record number of ballots that are empty, except for Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. But for some reason, all kinds of problems with signatures. We've shown these on air. You can see them yourself. It doesn't even, it's like literally it says, put your John Hancock down there. One name says Randall Wendell, and the other name says John Hancock. It's like someone just wrote John Hancock on 30 ballots and put him through.
Well, I like this John fella.
Like they were counting money for the mob. They reran the ballots.
And their argument back would be that the process has gotten more secure. I don't know if it's gotten 30 times more secure. since
Not during this
2016.
unprecedented
so does
time.
does that mean that the post office has gotten 30 times better
Right.
at delivering the mail?
Are they
No
making
way.
30 times the negative profit that they've done for 13 years?
Yeah. Turns out if you lose enough money, you get really efficient.
Think about this. You have to believe that that the post office, who have not turned a profit in 13 years and said they were not equipped to handle this election and were mailing out checks 10 days late, were so efficient that they were 30 times more effective in handing in mail-in ballots. Also, by the way, at the same time, people who've never voted before made sure they got it right from their den. 30 times more effective. When people say, well, you know, there's not enough for voter fraud. Again, we've already shown you thousands of votes in a state like Georgia, where the margin is very, very thin. Thousands of votes. We've shown you that already. Again, without an actual canvassing, without an actual official recount, without an actual official audit, and now 30 times the rate. Those aren't numbers. To give you an example, let's say there were 100,000 ballots, mail-in ballots that were sent before, right? They were rejected at a rate, let's say it was 1%. So what happened is last election, 100,000 votes, 1,000 got rejected.
Right.
Now this time, 100,000 votes, less than 300 get rejected. You add that up in a state with a few million people, that's not a rounding error.
No.
That's winning or losing the state. Those are fighting numbers. And when you say you don't want fighting in the streets, well then, don't miscount votes to the level that would necessitate fighting in the streets for some people because they want their vote to count. 5,500 people, their votes did not count in Georgia until this morning because of 2 flash drives. You don't think they're not burning stuff down, but I would understand it a little more than someone burning something down for, I still don't get it. Your reason is as good as mine. Comment below as to why you burned down a Walgreens.
And by the way, people were concerned that those numbers would climb, that the rate of rejection would actually go significantly higher in this election. And they were worried that a bunch of voters that would be voting for Joe Biden wouldn't get counted. So if we can go back and play the tapes of these people saying this, and it went down, and they're like, oh yeah, that's fantastic. That's exactly what we thought would happen.
And then, of course,
burnt down a Walgreens because I prefer CVS.
they do have the better discounts. I don't know why, though. CVS still prints out receipts that can circle the equator 4 times like it's CompUSA in 2004.
I use them as toilet paper.
By the way, hit the notification bell if you are subscribed on YouTube, because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot. There's a little bell right there. You hit it and it'll notify you when new segments go up. And of course, we broadcast Monday through Thursday, sometimes Fridays, but Monday through Thursday every weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern, going on down the trail with Fraud Week, Pennsylvania. Now, here's the thing: the Trump campaign they claimed, by the way, that there were different standards for voting in person, and that voting by mail is unconstitutional. Well, some people say, well, that's just hearsay. It's an argument. Judges are going to toss it out. But they don't tell you the argument. Well, let me give you the argument, and you decide, does the argument hold water, depending where your biological clock is. In-person voters were required to, of course, we all know this, vote in a controlled environment.
Yeah. Right.
You know I'm not lying to you if you've ever voted. Of course, before Election Day.
Right.
These were standards. They required matching signatures because, you know, like when you voted and you signed?
Yes.
They're just making sure it's your signature.
I signed 4 or 5 times, as I recall.
Did you? Yeah, and then they ran it times 10.
To get it right.
That shit's exponential.
They also told me what to fill out.
Right.
Yes. At gunpoint. Yeah.
So, controlled environment in a polling station, right, at a precinct, before Election Day, having matching signatures. But the 2.65 mail-in ballots required none of that. None of it. None of the
2.65 million.
safeguards.
Yeah.
They're not matching. Again, we know that they're not matching the signatures because we've seen multiple ballots that didn't have any signatures at all and have been accepted in the past, or ballots that just don't have signatures that match, which we can't do a full auditing, so we don't know how many, but they filled it out from their den, so it could be filled out anywhere, and they could sign anything. And by the way, the Pennsylvania court, they decided to legislate from the bench and say, usually it's election day, but give or take 3 days. They said you can send it in 3 days late. Is what they said. And of course, there was a higher court, and this is where I wish my half-Asian lawyer was here, saying, no, they legislated from the bench. They do not have the authority to change the voting standard and say that you have an extra 3 days. And then a Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, yeah, we do. And so now here's what's interesting, though, is the AP, right, they reported. So AP, this is considered an authoritative news source. Anyone who does news, you always get their newsletters. Yeah, AP. And they were the ones who were really the source for calling states for a lot of these places. So the AP claimed that the Trump campaign had dropped the suit, which was challenging the 682,000 mail-in ballots. We're talking about mail-in ballots that were 3 days late. So again, whether you think the Pennsylvania court has the right to just say, we're going to extend it 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, you get all the days, that's not the argument. The point here is the press reported that the Trump campaign conceded that argument. Why? Because they want you to be defeatist sons of bitches and say, well, if the court is tossing it, that must mean that Trump doesn't have an argument. Well, if Trump's conceding and he's not even arguing the point anymore, his own lawyers, that must mean that they know they have nothing. You see a lot of that going on because that's what happened at AP, but here's an actual quote from the director of communications, not Stephanopoulos, that was Clinton's
guy.
But now he's a reporter, unbiased. Regular Cronkite he is.
Not so much.
But he needs stilts. So Trump's director of communications responded, this story is completely erroneous. Our lawsuit in Pennsylvania absolutely still makes an issue of the 682,000 mail-in and absentee ballots that were counted in secret. To write that we have scrapped that argument requires not reading the amended complaint. Again, the issue isn't where we end up in the. Of course, I don't think that the courts have the right to say election day plus 3. I think people should be held accountable, which is why I have a problem with polling. But the argument here is the people we're supposed to trust, the people who are put in charge of fact-checking, where? At Facebook, at Twitter, at YouTube, places like AP, they falsely reported that the Trump campaign had rescinded their argument. They did not. That, combined with people being shoved by poll workers in welding masks, should terrify you.
Yeah. Well, and this specific argument that they have is, I think, one of the strongest cases. We talked about this previously, which state you thought was going to have movement first or had the strongest case. I have always said Pennsylvania has the strongest case because of this. Because the equal protection argument that they're making, saying that you didn't treat these voters the same, is absolutely true. And also allowing people to cure their ballots after it's been received, they gave people that authority to do it in Democrat
Explain to people who don't know curing ballots, because as a cigar lover, I'm thinking they hang the ballots in a barn.
No, it's not curing like meat or anything else like that. Yeah.
Kiln,
so if you make a mistake on your
Pete Kiln. Sorry, let me get that. Otherwise, you'll think that I'm Biden. Pete Kiln. The joke is in the pile with yours. Go ahead.
Yes. Right. So if you make a mistake on your ballot, you are able to fix that mistake. You're able to cure that. Right. If it's something minor. Right. So there's a couple of things. The naked ballot,
like a Pfizer vaccine for your ballot.
Exactly. If you had a naked ballot that did not have that outer envelope, the secrecy envelope, which it is supposed to have, the signature isn't necessarily matching, or some other minor mistakes on this, and the signature matching is not a minor mistake, by the way. If somebody forges it incorrectly, throw it out.
An honest mistake.
Not again. They can't let them do that.
All right, I want to hear his explanation, because this is where...
Right. So you're not supposed to be able to do that. And so instead of just arguing that those ballots shouldn't have been the 2.65 million mail-in ballots, there shouldn't have been about 700,000 allowed after the deadline, they're saying, even if you agree with the court in Pennsylvania, they treated these ballots differently than everybody else's, and that is breaking the law.
And by the way, hey, CNN right now, they're saying Trump fires official who disputed his baseless election fraud claims. This is not what's happened. By the way, they've also said, some of these suits were dropped in certain states. Here's what's happened. Again, the media doesn't tell you the why, the context, and sometimes they just lie, as they lied about, the Trump campaign, they've rescinded their complaint here. No, they did not. In this case, well, not necessarily in this case. I don't know this exact case, but there have been several lawyers who have been fired from certain states and then moved, or sometimes they go, we have to allocate certain resources because we have a more effective argument in another state. There are many, many, many lawsuits right now, some of which are designed to fight at a state level and some of which are designed to be kicked up to the Supreme Court. So the fact that lawyers are either recusing themselves or they're being let go because
Right.
they want to allocate resources to other states, does not mean that they're just conceding this territory. That's important. Again, this is to try and make you think that the battle is over. Here's the thing. Maybe Joe Biden won. Absolutely. I'm fine accepting that. But no one should be okay with this level of fraud or potential fraud and irregularities at this point. For me, it's enough when you find 5,000 votes several weeks after in one state, one county. For me, when 6,000 votes got, okay, you know what? That's enough. If I'm saying no election fraud, there are only maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 100 if you're lucky that you'll find in a recount and someone goes, oh, 6,000, you got me. Yeah. That's one for you. Yeah. That's what I would be saying. Just like if we recounted this and we found out that Joe Biden, by some act of Satan, got 10 million more votes than Barack Obama.
No.
Okay, fine, I'll concede. But you said there were no fraud, and I just found I just found another one. There's another 5,000 votes.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're finding 6,000, that means there's a lot more, in my opinion.
Yes.
I mean, I know there's no fact, but that's ridiculous.
Well, especially
It
if
was
you're
in, like one county, right? So
especially if you're doing like
enough to look around.
the lightest possible version of an audit. This isn't an audit. This is a recount. Like you're not even trying to find additional votes. You're trying to make sure you counted the ones you have correctly.
And by the way,
you're checking the fifth pocket of your jeans, and you're like, whoops.
Yeah.
What do you have, cargo pants?
That's my small pocket where I usually keep my baggie between counting ballots. But it turns out I put my ballots in the baggie pocket. By the way, all of these sources are available at louderwithcrowder.com.
Yes.
That's one thing we're changing because I know some people out there are lazy, and I do mean lazy because you can see the source on the screen. But a lot of people go, well, I don't want to have to type it in. So could you just make it so I just click? And I'm sure some people will be like, well, can you not make it so can I click on the YouTube? We can't do that because we don't run YouTube. But if you go to louderwithcrowder.com, click the description, you'll see all of these sources. They're publicly available. And hey, if you think I'm wrong, go ahead and comment. More information on Pennsylvania. According to the polling data, there are people over 120 years old who voted. I'm sure there's name mix-ups. People requested, received, and returned mail-in ballots all on the same day, and there were other ballots that were returned before they were requested.
Wow.
That's one hell of a return policy, Harold. Are these all clerical errors? 120-year-old people voting, people having the ballot sent to them, voting, sending it back same day, ballots being returned before they were ever requested, where in some other counties they just keep in mind, again, is it applied equally? I think they're still counting Arizona. Well, this is going to take a long time. You got that man's ballot in before the day that he even requested it because that wasn't a day.
I just think that's efficient.
It really is.
I mean,
we knew how you were going to vote before you did, and so we just took care of it.
We're supposed to believe that Philly's efficient. You can't even fix your bell. How long does that take?
True.
So now we have Nevada, we have Pennsylvania, we've gone through Georgia, and we didn't know what else we have. We still have Wisconsin, and we still have, I don't know if we did Arizona, but tomorrow is Michigan, because Michigan has some very interesting data, not only just recently that we just showed you a ballot counted 4 times and people being doxxed, but Michigan is interesting because of some counties that changed.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell the full story when you understand that Donald Trump was getting more of the minority vote, more of the women vote than anyone before, and Joe Biden was underperforming with all those votes, but all of a sudden 149,000 came in Wayne County and only 6,000 were for Donald Trump. Again, in the dead of night.
Unbelievable.
Remember there was the typo of 128,000, I think, in Wisconsin or Michigan? They're like, that was a typo. Well, this actually happened. 149,000 in Michigan. Only 6,000 for Donald Trump in Wayne County. Wow. So he overperformed with all these demographics, which we were told, everyone thought he was racist, blacks hated him, women hated him, and then he only underperformed and Biden only overperformed in major metropolitan areas where we saw these shenanigans going on at the polls. It does not make sense. And you also see it in very staunchly Republican counties in Michigan that the margins were a lot slimmer.
Yeah.
It's bizarre and atypical in every which way, and the issue right now is the left is they're the party who always wanted an investigation. Think about this.
Yeah.
They did 4 years of investigating Russia. They claimed, let's look at their claims. They claimed that Donald Trump worked with Putin. They claimed that Donald Trump worked with Cambridge Analytica. They claimed that Donald Trump was watching Russian pissing prostitutes at the Kremlin, right? All of these claims, they claimed that he was funneling money from his all of these claims, and they were running investigations that were a sham that led to nothing. It took an AG to step in and say, all right, let's put a stop to this. But now all of a sudden they're the party of, we don't need to investigate. We don't have time.
Nothing?
Yeah. No questions at all? What if Donald Trump had bought, I don't know, 5,600 votes by just paying someone to remove the memory cards?
I don't think there'd be a fire.
Probably wouldn't. But hey, instead of actually doing an investigation, they're rushing to certify the election results. Not just trying to do it by December 14th, which I think is when most people are supposed to be doing it by. rushing to certify it and doxing people who get in their way.
All right. So any other commentary? No. So we're continuing Fraud Week. We're continuing it tomorrow with Michigan. I don't know if we're doing Wisconsin. There's so many irregularities, but Michigan is the one to me where opinion. I certainly don't think that Biden won Michigan. And again, I just think we need an investigation. I will accept Joe Biden as my legitimate president if there is an investigation into these verifiably documented irregularities.
Watch Good Morning Mug Club live every Monday through Thursday at 10:15 Eastern.